Right now, I want to welcome to the program from the Independent Women's Forum. Our friend Julie Gunlock is with us in studio today. Julie, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure. You look very summery today on the first day of August.
Thank you. I'm in, a summery mood. It's nice out today.
Excellent. And congratulations, your first piece at the Wall Street Journal.
Yes, very excited. I'm not going to lie. I'm very excited. I'm not so jaded by Washington that I'm not excited to have a piece in the Wall Street Journal. Very big career highlight for me today.
Still the biggest paper of circulation in the United States, I believe, right?
That's right. Yep.
So every reason to be proud. Congratulations.
Thanks.
What are you? Who are you taking to task? Are you going after Gwyneth Paltrow again?
I wish. She deserves it every day. No, I'm actually talking about an alarming new study to come out of the CDC that says that non-medical exemptions for vaccinating your kids have become so common that we're now seeing a very alarming return of measles, which is an infectious disease that was eradicated in this country in 2000. So let's just take a minute to realize that this is a disease that, if it appeared, was being brought in by tourists, people who would come into the country, or illegal aliens who were not vaccinated would also bring it in. But in the United States, scientists had eradicated the disease. And part of that was because of a very high trust in the medical community. You had a very aggressive vaccination campaign. It was being pushed by the federal government as well as the medical community. And you had fewer non-medical exemptions. And when I'm talking about non-medical exemptions, this is for so-called personal beliefs or religious beliefs, or just not really wanting to vaccinate your kids. That was very rare. Fast forward 17 years, the CDC is worried that we're going to have a serious outbreak. They have said that a 5% drop in vaccinations will triple the number of infections among children 2 to 11 years old. So we are on the verge of an outbreak. We already have seen hundreds of cases of measles. The CDC has pretty much said it is because of people choosing not to vaccinate their children. So this is a very serious issue. I've sort of built a career on telling parents not to worry about things, right? I'm always on the show saying, good God, calm down. It's fine. This is something you should worry about. The return of infectious diseases, and I can tell you just why measles in particular is so scary. But this is the kind of thing people should be nervous about. This is the kind of thing that we should be alarmed about.
All right. Now, when the author of The Culture of Alarmism says you should be alarmed, you got to listen.
Measles and Gwyneth.
Right, that's it. Gwyneth Paltrow is like the celebrity version of measles. Maybe just Goop is like.
She's
the
also
spreading.
She is
measles.
Spreading throughout the country. It's very alarming. But yeah, the thing that people don't understand about measles is it can stay in the air. The virus can stay in the air for up to 2 hours after someone coughed. Okay, so just contemplate that the next time you're at the DMV or you're waiting for the next, new gadget at the Apple store. It can linger in the air for 2 hours, and you can breathe it in, or your child can breathe it in. The other thing that's really scary is that a person usually starts to show signs of measles about 10 days after they come in contact with the disease, but they are infectious 4 days before those symptoms show up. And the other thing is that those first symptoms, you don't immediately break out in a rash. You actually get cold-like symptoms. You get a stuffy nose, maybe a fever, aches and pains. And so the rash doesn't show up till later in that process, at which point, your mother has probably, examined you and cuddled with you, and all your brothers and sisters have been around you, and all sorts of people have been around you, your elderly grandparents. And so it's very dangerous because it is so easily misdiagnosed by just normal people. And again, because it just can stick around for so long in the air. So, if we're going to see these kinds of a tripling of the number of measles cases, it is a real concern to public health officials, to the U.S. government. People have really, really got to get a hold of themselves when it comes to vaccinations. Vaccinations are safe, and they have, again, eradicated diseases, many infectious diseases, not just measles. So, in this country, I've always said we are suffering from two very bad things. We're too comfortable. We just haven't had these diseases around. Sort of mass amnesia. We don't remember. People just don't know, or they don't remember what it was like. Even older people who choose not to vaccinate their kids say, those things are gone now. So again, I think this is a real concern. It was certainly concern enough to be published in the Wall Street Journal. So I think that this is a real issue people should be aware of.
All right, talking again with Julie Gunlock from the Independent Women's Forum. Now, another issue, Julie, more of a nanny state story here from the left coast. San Francisco, the latest thing that they're banning, you may have seen this, sandboxes in the public parks there in San Francisco.
Yeah. I read about this. Yes, of course, because they're a true danger and parents don't, again, have any common sense. San Francisco has a real habit of doing this. So a couple years ago, San Francisco also banned toys and Happy Meals because they claimed that parents just didn't have the strength to say two letters, N and O, to their children. And so they took it upon themselves to take that option out of Happy Meals. So San Francisco, I'm not surprised, right? Anything that happens in San Francisco, it's like, next story. It actually doesn't concern me when it happens. If it happened in some nice community that had, was like more normal, I might be concerned. But San Francisco, nothing that happens there makes me nervous.
Well, so, no, I don't think this is going to spread like Gwyneth Paltrow around the country. But Connie Chan, who's a spokeswoman for the San Francisco Parks and Rec, Rec and Parks, said, "We often face issues such as sharp objects, broken glass, even cat feces in our sandboxes throughout our playgrounds. Back in 2015, apparently, quote, vandals trashed Dolores Park's playground, leaving dozens of bottles strewn in the sand. So Recreation and Parks made a choice to start phasing out all of these cities' sandboxes. Basically because they can't police their city."
That's right.
Right, and because you've got trash being left in the sandboxes, but they say sharp objects. I wonder if they're worried about needles at all. But because San Francisco can't police its city,
right,
therefore you can't have nice things. Your kid can't play in a sandbox because you know what, someone's going to trash it.
Right.
This is, to me that's just indicative of the types of failures that we are seeing from a quote unquote progressive city like San Francisco, where there are all kinds of issues on the streets of San Francisco right now.
Yeah, this is an enforcement issue, of course, but it also, you're right, I think it says something culturally about people who just don't give, a crap, pardon the pun there, about their community. And these are places where kids play. And apparently this is such a problem, they've got to get rid of these sandboxes. What is wrong with the people of San Francisco that they can't play nice in the sandbox, that they can't clean up after themselves or throw things away in proper receptacles? I thought all of these people also were supposed to be these big environmentalists. What are they doing? Trashing sandboxes. So it just makes no, I was going to say it doesn't make any sense, but it really does, because over and over again, you look at the big marches here in Washington. I'm a local. I live here. And every time the Tea Partiers came, they would clean up after themselves. The city had never been so clean as after a Tea Party protest. And they were civil and kind and nice and polite. And they bought things in the city and brought great revenue to the city. And again, cleaned up after themselves. And then you have these environmental marches or these women's marches or these whatever, name it. They've got to march for something now. Usually left-wing marches, and the city is utterly trashed. There's garbage everywhere. It's just a mess. And so we see this consistently, where you've got these, sort of these people who love to, appear better than everyone, when in fact, in their daily behaviors, they're quite the opposite.
Yeah. Speaking again with Julie Gunlock, and San Francisco, I think may lead the way right now. I just did a search for San Francisco ban, just to see what it would come up with. Let's
4
see.
billion things came up.
I'm telling you, San Francisco to ban employers from considering salary history. That was 3 hours ago. A couple days ago, San Francisco ban on flavored tobacco looks headed for the ballot.
Yeah, this is a really
San Francisco
on the flavored tobacco one. Yeah. This is a vaping issue. This is a really important issue. Look, they're going to put people out of business, and they don't care. And the other thing they're going to do is they're going to force people. What this is they're going to take away some of these vaping flavors, and that is going to. A lot of people are going to go back to smoking. You've got multiple studies that show that vaping and vaping products are far less harmful than traditional combustible cigarettes. The heat, lighting a cigarette on fire, that is the danger. And these vaping materials are much safer. And so, you've got a city, which is sort of famous for harm reduction when you think of needle exchanges and condom distribution and all the things that they've done to try to get people to act responsibly and maybe, still do, needle exchanges. There was a lot of controversy about that. People said, gosh, but they're still shooting up. But, the whole argument was, but they're doing it in a more safe manner. So they have a history of harm reduction. And here you have vaping, which is offering people a less harmful way to essentially deliver nicotine, which is why people smoke, and they're banning it. So it's very inconsistent out of San Francisco, and it's really tragic because, again, it's got some real health concerns attached to this ban, and also putting people out of business. There's a thriving vaping market there, and it's really gonna cost businesses and jobs.
Well, as you say, the ban has been voted on. What now looks to be headed for the ballot is a vote to possibly repeal.
Right.
This ban. And we can talk about the harm mitigation strategies of having a needle exchange or even a safe injection site at some other point, because that'll get me going for like 20 minutes. But there's more stuff that they're trying to ban. San Francisco may ban controversial flame retardant chemicals. Do we want to ban the flame retardant chemicals? Julie, I thought we would want to ban the flame accelerators or something.
This is what happens every year. It's a pendulum, right? So when we were growing up, Cam, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember when we were little and there would be a news story about some kid who set himself on fire because he walked past a lit pumpkin with his 100% polyester Halloween costume on. There were all these stories. I remember this when I was little. I remember also there were a lot more house fires. But then, because of this, in the 80s and starting in the late 70s and the 80s, they started putting flame retardant chemicals into clothing, into building manufacturing, into furniture manufacturing. And what you've seen is a reduction in house fires and these horrible accidents, like kids setting themselves on fire because they walk past a candle. And so then what you have is the anti-chemical nuts out there, these environmentalists out there who are like, oh, these chemicals, they cause cancer. They put a tiny amount of these chemicals in the manufacture of this clothing and of this furniture and building materials. And it has saved lives. And so what you're going to see this. They're going to take those chemicals out of the clothing and furniture, and then the pendulum's going to swing. And we're going to see a return of those accidents, more house fires, more accidents involving children and clothing. And then the pendulum's going to swing the other way, and you're going to say, and someone's going to come up with a bright idea to put these chemicals back in these products. I mean, this is always what happens, and it's incredibly frustrating. In this case, yet again, this is one of these efforts by environmentalists that's really going to harm people.
Then there's the ban on chocolate milk in schools, which I think we've discussed before. But unfortunately, we're out of time. We still have more stuff that San Francisco's trying to ban, and we've run out of time.
We didn't even get to Gwyneth, my favorite subject.
Well, she's never going to be banned from San Francisco. I have news for you. Keys to the city.
That's right. That's right.
Julie Gunlock. Make sure you read her in the Wall Street Journal. Julie, thank you for still slumming here on NRA TV after your appearance on the pages of the Wall Street Journal. we appreciate it. Thank you.
Ridiculous.
Madam. We'll see you soon.
Very famous. My driver's here. I have to go. Goodbye.
Julie Gunlock joining us from the Independent Women's Forum on Twitter at jgunlock. And you can find Julie's stuff also at iwf.org.